This is the Louie T Network.
Draft Zone. Draft Zone. Draft.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this program, 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. The Who's Next format in full effect. What does that mean? You, the viewers, are selecting the next team up on the program. And how do you do that? Be the first, the absolute, unequivocal first person to leave a comment at the bottom of this and future videos stating two things: the phrase next and the team you would like to see next. Now, barring that team has already been done, that team will be featured up next on this series. So, how do we get the grades for these players, these teams? How do we do it? Simple. We use the baseball grading scale: single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the draft wrap-up series. Don't want to discount anybody. Don't want to count any of these players out. So we grade up each player, get an aggregate score for the team, give them an overall grade, move on to the next team in the series. So without any further ado, I've broken down how this works. You know how the game works. You know the rules to the game, so play. So today we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings. I've got my handy dandy pointer. I've got the big board behind me. That's all I need to get this party started. So I'm getting to the big board and talking about the 2014 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings. So, pretty active draft for the Vikings. You know how their general manager, Rick Spielman, likes to do. He likes to be active during the draft. He wants to build his team through the draft. He's mixed no words. He has said this from the jump: I want to build my team through the draft. And if you look at this board, you can tell he's not playing. He's not kidding around. So we start in the first round. 9th overall selection, linebacker out of UCLA, Antone Barr. And this is one of the most polarizing football players in this draft. Not because of his behavior, not in the sense of Tim Tebow or Mark Sanchez, but more because of who he is as a football player. Scouts and GMs and coaches either love this guy or you hated this guy's game. And so he was one of these guys, one of those wild cards in this draft that could go as high as number 6, could go as low as the last pick in the first round. I mean, you didn't know where Antone Barr was going to go because of that polarizing nature that he possessed in terms of his play on the field. And so here's why people are torn between Antone Barr. And he's a raw kid. A lot of skills, the measurables. He's oozing with everything you're looking for in a game changer, a game wrecker. However, you don't get it from play to play. So I'll talk about him being green behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. We'll get to that in a second. But the reason why he's a polarizing figure as a football player is because he teases you. He's tantalizing. He's an enigma at times. And I'll explain that a little bit later as well. But in short, you see him, you understand what everyone else sees, but you don't see it enough, okay? So let's talk about Antone Barr, the football player, and why this guy was selected 9th overall by the Vikings. Let's start with the good first, all right? I just told you he's 6'5". He's about 240, 245, so 250. This guy is built for an outside linebacker. He looks the part of an outside linebacker, a guy that can get to the quarterback, explosive first step off the football. When he knows it's a pass, and this is something that he's got to get better at, but when he identifies that it's a pass, hey, if it's 3rd and 7 and he knows you got to chuck it, that first step off the snap is explosive. Explosive. It's explosive. And he can get to the quarterback. If you're a tackle that struggles getting out of your stance, maybe you get out of the blocks a little slow, that's not the guy you want in front of you. Now, if you're a technician, you know how to use your feet and your hands equally well, you can get out of the stance and out of the blocks, you move laterally well, then Anthony Barr right now, what he is as a player, as is, probably not going to give you as many problems. But the guy has elite speed when it comes to getting to the quarterback. And he has great closing speed as well. So once he gets by you as a tackle or guard, he has the ability to close on the quarterback very, very quickly. And so that's one of his traits that sets him apart from most of the guys in this draft, is that he has elite speed and elite closing speed, elite burst off the snap. And so that's normally how he wins. Right now, because he's such a green football player, he's very, very raw. His best attribute tends to be his only one at times, which is pure speed. Can't teach it. Either you got it or you don't. Either you wake up with it in the morning or you don't have it. That's not something you can teach. And he's got it. He's got explosiveness. He's got speed. And he can close on the quarterback once he gets by that blocker. So that's essentially what Anthony Barr brings to the table right now. Size, length, and speed, and game-changing ability. Long arms so that he can keep tackles at distance, at bay, has the ability to keep them at a distance so that if the run is coming his way, he can come off of a block and get into the play and make a tackle. So his long limbs also kind of come into play and help him be a playmaker. Now, there are some drawbacks to Anthony Barr. Let's go over some of the things that kind of turn people off and make them sour towards Anthony Barr. First things first, I want to see this guy get in the weight room, and he will. Okay, I want to say something like 12 reps of 2 1/4. Not going to cut it, especially if you're setting the edge in the National Football League. You got to be able to bench more than 12 reps of 2 1/4. Guys are physical, they're big, they're nasty, and they're mean at this level, and they will wash you clean inside, or they'll seal you to the outside and open up a gaping hole. He's got to be able to set the edge in the run game consistently in this league, and at 12 reps of 2 1/4, I don't know if he can do that well enough. There are times where you put on the film and he's non-existent in games because of the fact that he can't get to the running back. He can't get off of defenders. He can't get off of blockers, shed them, and get to the ball carrier. He gets stuck sometimes, and that's that because I told you he's got length, but he doesn't have the physicality to get rid of a big 315-pound offensive tackle that has sticky hands. So that's something he's going to have to work on, and I feel like he will at this next level to get him in the weight training program, and he'll be a stronger football player. By the time he steps on the field in September, week 1, I think he'll be a stronger, more physical football player by then. The next thing that worries me with Anthony Barr is the fact that sometimes he can go quiet. And I think the thing that frustrates people the most with this guy is he gives you flashes of brilliance. And I'll give you an example. Watch the Stanford game from 2013. And there were several instances in that game where Anthony Barr did nothing for stretches at a time. I mean, you'd go every bit of a quarter and a half, and Anthony Barr hadn't done anything. No sacks, no tackle for loss, had barely even gotten any tackles. I mean, he hadn't done anything. They had basically kept him quiet that entire game. And then out of nowhere, they try to run a reverse to his side, and he snuffs it out, disregards the tackle, throws him off to the side, gets in the backfield, and wraps up the ball carrier for about a 7-yard loss. And that's the flash of brilliance that I'm talking about. And it was a beautiful play. I mean, they go one way, so now he's reading misdirection. So if you're a bad defensive end with poor recognition skills, you're running the opposite way of the play. Play's coming back his way. He stays at home, discards the tackle, gets in the backfield, wraps up the ball carrier for a 7-yard loss. It was a magnificent play on his part. Different layers to that play. The ability to diagnose the play, stay at home, keep contained, get rid of the blocker, and then get into the backfield and make a sound form tackle for a 7-yard loss. That's an elite football play right there. And so he'll show you that, and then he'll go back into his little cubby hole, do nothing for the next quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden, he comes in, lays the boom down on a guy, puts his head on a ball carrier, ball comes out, fumble, UCLA recovers, and you're like, that's a big-time play. And he had to get rid of the tackle on that play, find the football, and then put his head down, put his arm right on the forearm of the ball carrier, pushes it down, ball pops up, it's recovered by UCLA. That's a big-time football play. But again, those are sometimes, and this isn't all the time, but sometimes they're too few and far between, and that's the thing that frustrates me a lot of the time when I watch Antone Barr. And the other thing, and this isn't that big of an issue, this is actually a plus. Right now it's a negative, but ultimately, if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you're making him a top 10 pick, then this is the thing that you're sold on. That's the upside. Right now, he's a raw football player. Only 2 years of experience as an outside linebacker. This guy came to UCLA as a running back. And so he wasn't used to chasing down quarterbacks. He was used to taking handoffs from them. And now Jim Moore Jr. comes in. He's the new head coach at UCLA. And the first thing he wants to do is make Antone Barr, this guy who's being wasted, a third-string running back, being wasted on this roster, he wants to turn him into an outside linebacker, and it was one of the best things Jim Moore Jr. has done in his tenure at UCLA, making this guy an outside linebacker. He's done nothing but wreak havoc on the quarterback since then, but because he's only a guy that's had 2 years of experience at the position, there's a lot to learn. And one of those things is more moves. He doesn't have an array of moves. There's not a lot in his arsenal. His arsenal right now simply reads speed, okay? He's not translating speed to power yet. There is no counter from the speed. There's no spin move. There's none of that. No bull rush. There's no other elite move other than hard speed to the outside and attacking the outside shoulder of the tackle and then trying to rip through. And so if he can find a way to use what he has and build off of it, almost like a closer in baseball. So you've got an electric fastball. That's great. You need another pitch to get guys out. If they know the cheese is coming and that's all you got, they're going to load up on it, and at some point they're going to make contact and it's going to travel really, really far. So you've got to have another pitch that confuses them. Same thing with the pass rusher. If I know all you have is a fastball and you're just going to try to run circles around me, I can get out of my stance fast enough to beat you. And even if you beat me, all I got to do is wash you around the quarterback, push you around, and allow my quarterback to step up in the pocket. But if you attack my outside shoulder aggressively and I expect speed and you take 2 hard steps outside and then go darting back inside, uh-oh, I'm lost. And so for me, Antone Barr has to develop his game, and he will. I expect Mike Zimmer and company to take this guy from a raw 2-year starter at UCLA at outside linebacker to a game-changing, game-wrecking, havoc wrecker of a outside linebacker that can get pressure on the quarterback. Yeah, he needs to get stronger at the point of attack, and I expect him to do that. But the sky's the limit for this guy. He just has to fulfill the potential that is there. And with that frame that he has, he's got more than enough space to fill out that frame. And I think the comp for him right now is Jason Taylor. If he can have half the career of Jason Taylor, then the Minnesota Vikings have done well. In the first round, 9th overall selection linebacker out of UCLA, Antone Barr. For me, he's a triple. He's a triple. You thought I was going home run, didn't you? He's a triple for me. I struggle back and forth because there's too many times that I watch tape of Antone Barr and he doesn't have an impact on the game. There's too many opportunities for him to do things. And I think really what it all boils down to is the fact that he just doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's raw. He's wet behind the ears. He doesn't really know what's going on right now. He's really green. And so the more he learns, the more he'll be able to translate that to the field, the better a football player he will be. the more explosive he'll become, the more plays he'll make in the course of a game. Right now, I just get frustrated because I watch the game and I'm expecting this guy to make X amount of plays within the course of a series, in the course of a quarter, in the course of a half, in the course of a game. And I just seem to not feel like this guy is that special of a player sometimes. And again, you get flashes. He teases you. You'll get the 7-yard loss where he goes in, knifes into the backfield, and brings a ball carrier down. You'll get him beating a tackle with pure speed to the outside and get into the quarterback, but then you won't get anything else from him for the next 2 quarters. And you just, when you need it, guys like Anthony Barr have to step up and get it for you. And I don't know if he's at that point yet. I think in the future, if he takes the coaching and embraces it and is able to take the coaching and put it onto the field, then he will be. But right now, for what I've seen, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sold. I see the production. I know it's there. I just didn't see it consistently enough for my liking. So he's a triple for me, and easily could have been a home run. But again, I need him to prove to me that A, he's going to get stronger, B, he's going to be stouter at the point of attack, and C, he can develop more moves when he's rushing after the quarterback. We will see if he develops those things over the next 3 or 4 months and is ready to make an instant impact for this Minnesota Vikings team in 2014. So you move on to the next pick. First round, 32nd overall selection, quarterback out of Louisville, Teddy Bridgewater, a.k.a. Theodore Bridgewater. And it's crazy because I predicted this. Now, I did not predict the team to be the Minnesota Vikings. Thought it was going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars, if you watch my mock draft. However, I said that he was going to fall to pick 32. Now, did I wholeheartedly believe that? No, I didn't. I thought that someone would snatch Teddy Bridgewater up somewhere throughout the process, somewhere in the 20s. I thought he'd come off the board. But as the draft wore on and I saw teams reaching for needs, I said, man, this guy literally could fall out of the first round. And it came dangerously close. Can't get any closer than 32. But when it was all said and done, I knew the Seattle Seahawks wanted out of the first round, especially if their guy wasn't there. And they wanted Dominique Easley. Patriots took him 3 picks earlier. So there was nothing there for the Seahawks at 32 that they wanted. And so I knew they were penny pinching. They wanted out of the first round. And I said, whoever needs a quarterback the most, whoever is desperate enough to come back into the first round, they're going to make the trade with the Seahawks and come up and get Teddy Bridgewater if he is in fact still there at 32. And he was. And that team that came calling was the Minnesota Vikings. So let's talk about this pick, because when I look at Teddy Bridgewater, I don't see a guy that fits necessarily in the Norv Turner style of offense. And I talked about this during the mock draft, that Norv Turner likes the bigger, stronger armed quarterbacks. Now, you could argue that Phillip Rivers isn't a strong armed quarterback, and he doesn't have a cannon, but he doesn't have a pop gun either. And Phillip Rivers is a bigger guy. Troy Aikman is a bigger guy. These are quarterbacks that Norv Turner has had the most success with throughout the duration of his career. And these are 6'5" quarterbacks, big, tall quarterbacks that have presence within the pocket. That's not Teddy Bridgewater. He's a 6'2", slenderly built quarterback, not the type of quarterback that you could see withstanding punishment in this league. But he's tough. There's no disputing that. I mean, we've seen him take shots. What about that shot against Florida in the bowl game? We've seen him battle through injuries, play games essentially with limbs banged up, and got through it, you know, dinged up shoulders and ankles and legs, and fought through the pain and helped his team win. So toughness isn't in question here, but his size is. And I didn't think he was a fit in Minnesota, but I was wrong. And so let's talk about Teddy Bridgewater, the football player in Louisville, one of the highest completion percentage quarterbacks in college football. And when I watch him, a lot of his passes are dink and dunk. And so he strikes me as a West Coast offense guy. Again, that's not what Norv Turner is about. The West Coast offense is more along the lines of, you know, short passes, nickel and diamond, an extension of the running game. Everything's short, you know, 10, 15 yards within the line of scrimmage, you're just looking to move the sticks. Norv Turner wants to push the football down the field. Complex route combinations, 4 and 5 wides, 3 wides and a tight end. He likes to spread teams out, make it difficult for you to focus in on one particular receiver, give guys opportunities to win one-on-one matchups. And the route combinations are a lot deeper. And so you got to be able to drive the football down the field. You got to be able to anticipate. Teddy Bridgewater is an extremely smart quarterback. He can read defenses. He understands concepts. I'm not worried about him in the classroom on the blackboard. That's not a concern of mine. My concern is accuracy down the field. Look, 15 yards and in, Teddy Bridgewater is about as clean as you can get in this draft from an accuracy standpoint when talking about 15 yards and into the line of scrimmage. He can nickel and dime you all day long. He can throw every single route 15 yards and in. He can throw that out cut. He can throw the dig route. He can throw the slant accurately. He can throw all the routes you want 15 yards and in. It's when he starts pushing the ball down the field. And it's crazy because at Louisville at times, he was pinpoint accurate. And the touch was there. The velocity, you could question it at times, but he was pretty solid at Louisville. At one point we were calling him the #1 overall pick in this draft. If he would have been a guy that could have declared in 2012 after the 2012 season, he might have been the #1 overall selection in that draft. Going into 2013, he was still the consensus #1. Midway through 2013, he was still the consensus #1. At the end of 2013, he was still thought by many to be the first overall selection in this draft. And then after the season was over and we get into the off-season workouts, the combine, and all of those things, it all fell apart for Teddy Bridgewater. And it was because the accuracy that I questioned all along started to rear its ugly head. It first started at the combine where he didn't work out. So that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. But he's not the first, nor will he be the last guy to not work out at the combine. So, we were willing to dismiss that because a lot of guys don't work out. On the advice of their handlers, the agent, they don't work out. It's not beneficial to you. You got more to lose than you can gain there. And so, okay, fine. You better show up and perform at your pro day. He did not. He had one of the worst pro days we've seen from a quarterback in a long time. And so then the red flags start to arise. Okay, now you got to go back and watch tape. Is this guy really as good as we said he was going to be? And then everyone had questions. They went back to the tape. And then they started to see the things that I saw, which is a guy that is extremely accurate, close to the line of scrimmage. But when he pushes the ball down the field, there's some errant throws in there. And then guys started coming off of that #1 overall pick. Then guys started coming off of him being a top 10 pick. Then guys started coming off of him even being a first-round pick. And I wouldn't go that far because I don't think he's that bad of a football player. But when it rains, it pours. When that ball starts rolling down the hill, at some point it becomes a boulder and you just can't stop it. That momentum starts to build and you can't stop it. And that's what happened to Teddy Bridgewater in the draft process. But make no mistake about it. He's got the smarts. He's got the ability. He's got the arm strength to make all the throws on the field. I don't question his toughness. I don't question his intellect. I don't question his mobility. Even though he doesn't show it a lot, he's a mobile quarterback. He can move when need be. I'd actually like to see him run more often. If it's not there, you don't like what you see, tuck it, pack it up, and run. Package it and go. Much faster than slow. Sometimes he wants to stand there and stare, and he'll take shots because of it. Now, the thing that I question, I've always questioned this, I'm going to continue to question this with Teddy Bridgewater, is the down the field accuracy. And if you're going to play for Norv Turner, the down the field accuracy must be present. And so if he can show me that he's got the ability to drive the football down the field 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 yards down the field, if he can consistently show me that when the deep ball is there, when the deep post is there, when that corner route is available, that he can hit it. Not on a rope, but on an angle, on an arc, with some air and some touch. But also when that deep post is open and that safety is trying to get there and you got to put it on the line, can he zip it in there? I don't know. When that corner route is open, you got a corner sitting there in cover 2 and he's underneath the route and your receiver gets into that vacancy right over top in between the corner and between the safety and cover 2 defense. Can you get that football in there consistently, 25 yards down the field? That's the question that I have right now for Teddy Bridgewater. When Cordell Patterson wins on the 9 route and is wide open streaking down the sideline, can you get it in there? When Jerome Simpson is winning in the slot and he's got a defender draped all over him on a 9 route up the seam, can you fit the football in there? That's the question I have. And so right now, I've got a few questions. I don't have all the answers. So in the first round, 32nd overall selection, quarterback out of Louisville, Teddy Bridgewater for me, he's a triple. I got some questions. Don't have all the answers right now, but I tell you one thing. He can definitely manage a football game. And look, I'm not one of these guys that gets bent out of shape about the term game manager. You got to be able to manage the game as a quarterback. All right? Do you want that to be your only title? Maybe not. Who cares? If you can get wins on the board, that's all that matters, and Teddy Bridgewater is a winner. Now, at this level, he's going to have to play at a higher level, a significantly higher level than what he played at Louisville. And he played at a really high level, but at this level, at this league, you're going to have to turn it up a notch because you're not the best quarterback in your division. Hell, you might be the worst quarterback in your division, stepping into the fray right now. And so he's got a huge void to fill in Minnesota because they haven't had a quarterback for a while in Minnesota. They haven't had a guy that they could rely on to get it done in Minnesota since Brett Favre, his first year in Minnesota when he took them all the way to the NFC Championship game. So they're looking for someone to be the savior in Minnesota. Teddy Bridgewater can be that guy. He's got all the tools necessary. I just need to see more accuracy. I need to see consistency from him throwing the football. If I can get that, you got yourself a winner in Minnesota and quarterback out of Louisville, Teddy Bridgewater. So 2 first-rounders. Vikings trade back into the first round and secure a second first-round pick and possibly their quarterback of the future. You look at the 3rd round, 72nd pick overall, defensive end out of Oregon State, Scott Crichton. Here's a guy that, to me, plays the game violently. He's physical. He's mean. He comes in and he's showing up to the party with cruel intentions. And I like that about Scott Crichton. He's aggressive. Sometimes to a fault. However, he's aggressive nonetheless. And what I mean by to a fault, sometimes he can be over-aggressive. So say his responsibility on a play is to have outside contain. And they fake the handoff, he's biting down on that fake. If it's a fake, he's biting down on the fake. Now, I'm going to tell you what. He may not keep outside contain. And now, if the quarterback has a football and he's running outside, there's a huge lane on the outside where he was supposed to be that was vacated by Scott Crichton. However, he's going to make that running back pay for not having a football. And that's what I'm talking about, aggressiveness. Now, you would much rather him stay at home, keep outside contain, and make sure that the quarterback isn't keeping the football, and that's not a quarterback keep. However, whatever he does, he's going to do it aggressively, and I like that. Okay, fine. You make a mistake, make it aggressively, okay? Don't be one of these passive guys, oh, I messed up. Make somebody pay for that mistake, okay? Fine. I made a mistake. Somebody's got to pay. I don't really give a damn who it is at this point. Somebody's got to pay. And that's what Scott Crichton does. He makes people pay, whether it's because they have the football or it's because they don't have the football. Somebody's got to pay. And I like that. He's a guy that works hard in the initial stages of a play. So quarterback snaps the ball. He's going vigorously after the quarterback. Now, if they dump off a screen and he's already went up the field, I'm not going down there and trying to get into the play. I'm done. You got me. So I would like to see him hustle a little bit more when the play goes away from him. To me, you'd feel a lot more comfortable running away from Scott Crichton than running towards him. With Anthony Barr, I feel like running away from him is the worst thing you could do because he's so explosive. He has such great closing speed that Anthony Barr can track you from the backside. You cannot block him. Ball is going all the way on the other end of the field, and he's fast enough to run your running back down from behind it, and it's only a 1-yard gain, where the play was really blocked for about 5 yards. I feel like Anthony Barr, you can run at him because he's not strong at the point of attack. You can move him out of the way and run directly at him. He doesn't shed blockers. He didn't get off of blocks. So you can run at Anthony Barr, and he won't make you pay for it. Scott Crichton, on the other hand, to me, is the direct opposite. You run away from him, he's not necessarily going to close on the ball carrier and get there and make a play. But if you run at him, now you got problems because he's aggressive. He stacks and sheds well to me. And he's always in on ball carriers when they run to his side. So if you come in his way, he'll stack, he'll shed, he'll get into the tackle. Now, what I like about him the most is his ferocity. And he uses his hands, to me, very well. So he's a guy that will sit there and hand fight with you all day, but he can use his hands to get by that tackle and get into play. He uses his hands well in the run game to stack and shed and discard tackles and guards. And so I like his hand usage. I like his explosiveness in terms of him wanting to be aggressive. Things that I don't like about Scott Crichton, the lack of hustle on plays that aren't to his side or plays that go away from him. He needs to be a smarter football player. Again, I said that his aggression is a great thing. It can also be a detriment as well. So it's a gift and a curse. Sometimes he's over-aggressive, will overrun a play, will read the wrong thing. It'll be a zone read or a read option. Quarterback's reading him. He bites down on the run. Quarterback keeps it, comes outside, gets a 15-yard gain because he's not at home. I need him to understand what teams are doing to you. If they give you a free release, you've been struggling with this tackle all game long, and all of a sudden, he olays and allows you to go by him. Think, okay? Don't bite the cheese, man. Don't bite the bait. You got to know something's wrong. Who's going to leave a nice, shiny piece of cheese right here? Right here in the open. For free. Nothing's for free. That tackle is letting you buy for a reason. It's a screen. So I need you to recognize screen, get out there, and disrupt the play. He wants to come up the field and blast the quarterback. Even if the quarterback is letting the football go, he is going to blast the quarterback. Like I said, when he makes a mistake, he makes somebody pay for it. Now, in the league, that might warrant him a couple of 15-yard penalties. Again, he's a very aggressive guy. And he's one of those guys, look, I worked this hard to get there. I got to hit somebody. I'm sorry. I'm here. I ran this far. I got to hit somebody. He's going to get a penalty or two, but you're going to like the physicality and the nastiness of Scott Crichton. If he can learn some discipline, if he can learn to hustle, give me some backside pursuit, if he can start to put together some extra moves. Right now, he's got 2 moves. Speed to the outside and speed to power. If he can give me some speed outside, back inside, and an occasional spin move, you got yourself a winner. In the 3rd round, 72nd pick overall, defensive end out of Oregon State, Scott Crichton for me is a triple. I like what you're doing here because you lose Jared Allen in free agency and you realize I got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. Even though you kept a guy like Everson Griffin and you still have Brian Robinson, you got to get pressure on the quarterback, and you need a bunch of guys to do that. You don't have one guy that stands out that's going to go and get you 13.5 sacks like a Jared Allen could. And so collectively as a group, you need to put guys on the field that can each get to the quarterback in their own right and put together the sack totals that are going to have you among the best in the league at getting to the quarterback. Now, Anthony Barr has the potential to be that replacement guy for Jared Allen and get you 13.5, 15, 15.5, 17 sacks. But I don't think that's going to be in year one, possibly even year two. That's year 3, year 4 production from him when he learns the game, learns the speed of the game, gets stronger at the point of attack, and learns an array of moves. So Scott Crichton, for me, is a solid guy. He's the type of guy that's going to get you 7.5, 8 sacks. If he has one of those games where he gets 2.5, 3 sacks, then he might be able to get to 10 in any given season. But I think throughout the duration of his career, he's going to be a 7.5, 8 sack guy. I'll take that from a third rounder. You betcha. I'll take that all day long. And he's going to hustle. He's going to be borderline dominant in the run game. I promise you that. The thing you got to worry about with him is, will you get the hustle? Will he become a smarter football player? That remains to be seen. So, move on to the next third round pick, 96th overall, running back out of Georgia Southern, Derrick McKinnon. I had to take a deep breath there, had to calm myself down. I was starting to hyperventilate because I was getting excited, okay? I absolutely am drooling, salivating, wiping my lip in love with Derrick McKinnon. And here's why. I love athletes. And I love athletes that can create when nothing's there. I love athletes that are football players, that are talented, and they're not limited to one thing. Much like Dree Archer, Derrick McKinnon is a football player. And he's going to impact your roster in ways you cannot imagine. Now, he's a jack of all trades. And they say that when you're good at many things, you're not great at one. I beg to differ in the case of Derrick McKinnon. Now, this is the thing. At Georgia Southern, he was a cornerback, and he was a quarterback, and he was a running back. You get where I'm going with this. So he wore a lot of hats on that football team, but teams were interested in him as a corner, and I can understand why. However, that's not what he's supposed to be in this league. I'm going to tell you this right now. That ain't what you want. You don't want Derrick McKinnon, the cornerback. You want Derrick McKinnon, the football player, the offensive playmaker, the special teams demon. You want Derrick McKinnon, the playmaker. That's the guy you want. And you want him touching the football on the offensive side of the football. On special teams, you want this guy to touch. Just like you wanted Cordell Patterson to touch the football last year, you want Derrick McKinnon to touch the football on special teams and on offense. And this guy's going to add a dimension to your football team that sets you apart from many teams in this league. You want to know why? Name me another team in the league that has 3 guys that at moment's notice, at the drop of a hat, can take it to the house anywhere on the football field. 99 yards away, 79 yards away, 29 yards away, 9 yards away. Name me another team with 3 explosive, dynamic, game-changing athletes on their football team that can do that. I'm waiting. You can't, because there aren't many teams with 3 of those on their football team. A lot of teams have 2. But who has 3 that you have to worry about all at the same time? Can you imagine a formation with Adrian Peterson, Derrick McKinnon, and Cordell Patterson all on the field at the same time? At the same damn time. No! You don't want to if you're a defense. Because every single one of them has game-breaking ability. All right, Derrick McKinnon. Let's talk about this guy because, as you can see, I'm getting a little riled up. I'm going to calm down now. All right? So, Derrick McKinnon, 5'9" running back. And honestly, 5'9" playmaker. Let's not reduce this man's role to just being a running back. Even though he doesn't have a lot of experience catching a football, he can. Even though he played quarterback and he can throw it. And don't be surprised when they dial up, you're going to get at least 1 or 2 gadgety plays from him in his rookie season where he lines up, and you're going to get some wildcat from this guy too. I believe that to be the case as well. You're going to see him because he played quarterback, and he was strictly an option quarterback. I mean, literally, he would carry the football 30 times in a game. Easy. Easy money. And every so often, he would drop back and throw a pass, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He doesn't have a bad arm either, you know? Good enough to get by. And so I'm telling you right now, expect some trickery from Derrick McKinnon on this roster in 2014. He will get at least 1 or 2 opportunities to throw the football in 2014. He's going to run the Wildcat at least 10 to 15 times. If it's successful, he may run it more than that during the course of the season. And he's going to be on the field and he's going to get touches in some capacity. And I think he can catch the football too. I don't think catching the football, if you watched him at the combine, it was fluid, it was clean, it was like he was used to doing it. So I don't think he has a problem catching the football either. That's why he's a playmaker. You put him on the field, Adrian Peterson, Cordell Patterson, that is going to be one heck of a formation. Derrick McKinnon, 5'9", 200 pounds, so he is solidly built. And that's the thing I like about him, more so than a Dre Archer or, you know, one of these smaller guys, a Devontae Freeman out of Florida State. These guys that are little scat backs, they're smaller, they're diminutive, but they're quick, they're fast, they can change the game up. Unlike those guys, he's big. He can take a pounding, and you can feel really good about giving him the football and him not getting dinged up. He's a physical guy. This guy's a workout warrior, all right? Every single combine event. So I'm not just talking about broad jump. I'm not talking about vertical or 40. I'm talking about the bench, 3-cone shuttle. I'm talking about all of the drills. He was at the top of the list. Every single one of them for running back. 4.41 40. Blazer. Speed. 24 reps. Of 2 1/4. Muscle head. And the guy is extremely agile. All right. Explosive jumper. 39-inch vertical. Woo-wee! The boy can jump. He's fast. He's explosive. He's physical. He can move. Go watch the tape. Go watch the tape. I beg you. Go watch some Georgia Southern tape. Please do yourself a favor. And he helped beat Florida. They upset Florida in 2013. I think he had something like 14 rushes for about $141 on Florida's defense. You know Florida is no slouch on the defensive side of football. Was marking on them boys. And I tell you what, he did it on a bum ankle. He did it on one wheel. I love me some Derrick McKinnon. Look, I don't know what you're going to do with him. Figure it out. Figure out a way to get this guy on the field ASAP. 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 Figure out a way to get this dude on. I don't care. Receiver, running back, I don't give a ham sandwich. Get this guy on the field and get him on the field pronto. In the 3rd round, 96th overall selection, running back out of Georgia Southern, Derrick McKinnon. Look, you know I want to get this guy a home run. You know I'm itching. I'm itching. I had to keep my hand from going up and putting it on the board, but I can't do it. He's still a triple. He doesn't have a natural position. You don't really know what you're going to do with this guy yet. As long as you put him on special teams and on offense, you can't go wrong. Now, if you try to make this guy into a corner, you could be messing up one of the best things you have in this draft. So as long as you put this guy on the offensive side of football, get him touches, find a way to get him involved in your offensive scheme, and you give him touches on special teams. Look, Cordell Patterson has your kickoff return game on lock. I don't want to see anybody else back there returning kickoffs. However, I like Marcus Sherrills. I don't love him on punts. Put Derrick McKinnon back there. Please. You won't be sorry. You move on to the next pick. 5th round, 145th overall. Offensive guard out of Stanford, David Yankee. So, looking at David Yankee, here's a big man from Stanford. Was a left tackle at one point. For the good of the team, he kicks inside to left guard. and the rest is history. And to be honest, he was a really good left tackle. He's an even better left guard. So you're getting a guy with versatility in the 5th round. And it's crazy because at one point we were discussing him as a 1st round pick. At least I was. I can't speak for everybody else. I was discussing him as potentially a 1st round pick, potentially the first guard off the board. And what turned teams off from David Yankee was the lack of agility, the lack of speed, the ability to get to the 2nd level. He timed out poorly at the combine and at his pro day. Who cares about that stuff? I think Mike Mayock said it best. He's a phone booth brawler. If I ever saw one, he's David Yankee. And what that means is in small restricted spaces, the guy's an animal. Okay? So what, he doesn't get to the 2nd level as cleanly as you would like him to, as fluidly. So what, he doesn't get out there on wide receiver screens and bubble screens and screens in general. So what, he's a lumbering big man. He's a guy that you put in a power run blocking scheme and he's a beast. Okay? If you're looking for a zone run blocking offensive lineman, this isn't the guy for the job. Okay? You want to put him in a zone run blocking scheme? That's a square peg. That's a round hole. He doesn't fit. You put him in a power run blocking scheme, you found your man right here, David Yankee. And they love to skip pull him, comes out, skips up, and goes and get the linebacker, seals the inside. I watched this guy dominate, a guy that I hold in high regard, out of Notre Dame, that I thought was a borderline 1st round pick, and Stephon Tuitt. Watch him dominate. Not only Stephon Tuitt, but Louis Nix and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish defensive line for 4 quarters as they dominated the line of scrimmage. And he was a big part of the reason why. He was sealing off the inside. He was doing all the dirty work in the line of scrimmage and allowing them to run the football effectively against Notre Dame and ultimately winning that game on the ground. And so I think this guy, if put in a position to succeed, which to me simply means putting him in a power run blocking scheme, you got yourself a really good football player. He's going to get it done. He's a mauler in the run game. Is he a guy that is going to necessarily destroy defenders? No. But I'm telling you what, he'll do his job. And if you're not as strong at the point of attack, don't think he won't get down there, get that pancake going, pour a little syrup on the top. But he's a guy that will do his job. And within that 5-yard box, within that tackle box, that restriction area, he's dominant. And there's really not much more to say. So in the 5th round, 145th overall selection, offensive guard out of Stanford, David Yankee, for me, I think it's a great fit in Minnesota. They are going to pound the football. Adrian Peterson and the Vikings are going to run a powerful run blocking scheme. And in the 5th round, to me, this is excellent value. I mean, again, I was talking about this guy going potentially 1st round, late 1st, early 2nd. And because of the lack of mobility, teams got scared off because of his times in all of the drills, the cone, 3-cone, the shuttle, all of those things. They didn't like the movement skills. I didn't like the movement skills, but that's not what I'm asking him to do. If I'm a team and I'm drafting this guy, I'm asking this guy to get the man in front of him. I'm not asking him to run down the line and go seek out a linebacker at the 2nd level. I'm telling him, block the guy in front of you. If there's nobody in front of you, block the next closest guy at the next level and cream him. And that's what David Yankee does consistently, time and time again. So for me, he's a triple. I mean, I just love what he brings to the table. I feel like you got great value here. He's going to fit perfectly like a glove in this system. He's a square peg. This is a square hole in Minnesota. He's going to fit in perfectly. You got a really good offensive lineman in the 5th round. I think guards sometimes are undervalued because I felt like there are some really good guards that went off the board really late in this draft because they're not shakers and movers, but they're just maulers, phone booth brawlers in the run game and in the passing game. And I just think you got away with a steal there, honestly, in the 5th round. So we move on to the 6th round. 182nd overall selection, cornerback out of Virginia Tech, Antone Exum. And here's a guy out of VTech that you go back to 2012, which is the best of Antone Exum, and you're like, man, you're on to something, Minnesota. You're on to something. That was a season, first year as a corner. He'd switched from safety, which to me is a more natural fit for him in the National Football League. Now, I could be wrong, but if you watch my combine analysis of him, I do not think he is a fluid enough athlete. To me, he's muscularly built. And I've talked about this several times on this very program about guys who are muscularly built that need to be able to be fluid athletes, turn and run, and have that fluidity to keep up with the burners in the National Football League. Again, in college football, you can keep up with guys. I mean, you can challenge them at the line of scrimmage because you don't feel the threat of them running by you. At this level, there are some burners with pure speed. And if you come up there and you are tight in the hips and you can't turn and transition, they're going to blow by you, man. They're going to blow by you. Smoke trail. And so I look at Antone Exum, and in 2012, he was keeping up with Sammy Watkins, Hopkins and company at Clemson. He was playing ball. I mean, 6 interceptions. He's physical. He's got a safety mentality when coming up and tackling. Forces fumbles. Ends up leaving school tied for the most career forced fumbles with 10. I mean, he's looking to punch the football out. There were a number of instances where I watched him on tape where he just comes up, straight Peanut Tillman, bolo punch. And nobody does it better than Peanut. But Antone Exum, I'll tell you what, he looks like he's been taking some lessons, and he has it down pat. And he comes in ripping. He's just aggressive when he's coming up to make a tackle. Safety mentality. So right there, off the bat, you know I'm sold on that. But you got to be able to cover. Hey, tackling is nice, but tackling is for the birds. You know why corners tackle for the most part? Because you let the guy in front of you catch the football. Now, of course, they're supporting the run, and I get that. But as a corner, if you can't tackle, but you have supreme cover skills, I'll take you on my team. I'll get mad when you miss a tackle, but I know the guy that you're covering isn't going to make many grabs, isn't going to impact this game, and I'll be able to live with that. I can sleep at night knowing that half of the field is going to be somewhat secure. Now, with Antone Exum, watching him at the combine, he tore his ACL after the 2012 season with a pickup game of basketball, tears his meniscus and his ACL. He comes back for the final 3 games of the Virginia Tech season, ends up hurting his ankle and missing the rest of the season. But he came back in a 2 or 3 game stretch. He didn't look like the same guy. He looked like a guy that was tightly wound, that lacked the aggression that he had before the injury. And he's a confident corner. He's one of these guys that borders on cockiness. Can rub some people the wrong way. I don't care about any of that stuff. If you can play football and you know you can play football, I don't have a problem with you letting everybody else know you can play football as long as you back it up. Richard Sherman rubs a lot of people the wrong way. You know why? Because the man is good and he's telling you, hey, I'm good. And some people don't like to hear over and over that somebody's good. As long as you're backing it up, I don't have a problem with you telling me over and over, I'm the best. I'm really good at what I do. I don't have a problem with you doing that. As long as you go out and you back it up on the field. And in 2012, Antone Exum did that. The 2013 version, not so much. So now I look at this guy at the combine. He looks like a safety. His movement skills, he's tight. His hips are tight. His ankles are tight. He's tight as an athlete now. I don't trust him out wide as a corner. I'll tell you this much. If you get the 2012 Antone Exum back, then you got yourself a cornerback. If you get the 2013 Antone Exum moving forward, he's a safety. Deal with it, okay? Do not force the cornerback position upon this man if he is not a corner anymore. If he is no longer a corner, move him to safety and allow him to help you there because he can make plays on the football. He's aggressive in his nature, wants to come up, be physical. He's going to force fumbles. Allow him to help you somewhere on the field. Do not force this man into a position that he cannot blossom and flourish in. Okay? So if you're getting the 2012 Antone Exum And you'll know, you'll see it. If he's there, if he's back to that football player, you'll know it when you see it. If he's not, then he needs to go to safety. I'll tell you this much. Whether you get the 2012 Antone Exum or the 2013 Antone Exum, this is for certain. You're going to hear this phrase quite often, okay? Prepare yourself. You ready? There was a lot of contact on that play. Get ready to hear that. Whether he's a safety or corner, there was a lot of contact on that play. Now, one of two things can happen after that phrase is uttered by your commentator, okay? One of two things. Either you'll see the cornerback waving it off, saying, no, you're not doing that. Or you're going to see that cornerback going and looking down, and you'll see the yellow hanky on the floor. One of two things. Normally, the latter happens when Antone Exum is involved. Normally, they're throwing the hanky. Normally, it's a flag. So, just brace yourself. Look, there are a lot of physical guys in this league, and they get away with it. But you got to establish yourself as a good cornerback or safety to get away with that kind of stuff. Richard Sherman, Darrelle Revis, two of the most guilty offenders when it comes to molesting and undressing receivers at the line of scrimmage. And hell, even 7, 10, 15 yards down the field, they still got their hands on receivers, but they get away with it. They get away with the physical play because they've established themselves as elite corners. If Antone Exum can establish himself in the league first, then he'll be able to get away with some of that physical play. But just know that you're going to hear at some point, at the end of a play, there was some contact on that play. Is the hanky coming out? That remains to be seen. But in the 6th round, 182nd overall selection, cornerback out of Virginia Tech, Antone Exum for me is a double. If he gets back to 2013 form, he's a triple. If he becomes the football player that I think he can become, whether at safety or at corner, he's a home run. But right now, from what I saw at the combine and what I think he's going to be moving forward, he's a safety, and I don't know how well he transitions to the safety position at the next level. I know what he brings to the table as a cornerback. Now, is he going to be the 2013 or the 2012 guy? I don't know. But as a cornerback, I know what he brings to the table, and I'm comfortable with that. We'll see what the Vikings will do with this guy. Don't force him to be a corner if he's not a corner. If he's a safety, make him a safety. If he's a corner, trot him out there. Let's see what happens. You move on to the 6th round, 184th overall selection, cornerback out of Maine, Kendall James. First of all, never trust a man with 2 first names. That being said, there's not a lot of footage out there on Kendall James. I did not get a lot to watch, so it's hard for me to really break down and assess him as a football player. I will say this. From the little bit of footage that I did see and what I was able to gather, scrape and piece together, he's willing to tackle. He's a guy that will track the football, will make plays on the football. I'd like to see him catch the football a little bit more natural at the combine. I watched him at his pro day. I watched him at the combine, and I was able to scrap together some highlights. He's a guy that will double and triple catch the football. In this league, you don't get that many opportunities to catch the ball. And that disappoints me because he's an ex-receiver. So I would expect him to catch the football a little bit more naturally, but he doesn't. But that's fine. Make quarterbacks pay. If they're going to come your way, if they're going to try you, if they're going to test you, make them pay sometimes. You got to be able to pick the football off. I think he can do that. I think he has the ability to do that. Things that I don't like, he is a guy that is extremely small. 5'10", and not in stature, not necessarily in height, but in body type. 5'10", about $180. I think he had 9 reps of 2 1/4. I mean, what is that? I mean, who does that? 9 reps? Seriously? That's what we're doing? Got to be better than that. And so those are some things he's got to clean up. He's got to get stronger. Again, at $180, I need you to be physical. I don't necessarily think he's that physical. He can't read the route anybody at the line of scrimmage. I think he mirrors receivers well sometimes. Watching the little bit of footage that I saw, he did a good job of running with guys, but again, he didn't get a hand on them. So, again, to me, what good is a jam? What good is press coverage? Again, you're here. What good is that if you're not getting your hands on a receiver? I mean, it's good to take away the hitch. It's good to take away the slant, maybe. But again, if we're even, we're leaving, and all you're doing is allowing a guy to get even with you sooner so they can run by you. He's got elite speed. I mean, he's a 4'4", 140 guy. So he can run. We're not doubting that. The question with him is physicality and being able to make plays on the football consistently. That's my knock on him. He's a smaller corner. He's not a guy with sheer physicality and bulk. So he's got to be able to win with being pesky. He's got to be nosy. And he's got to find the football. And he's, to me, a guy that will help you on special teams. And he's got some ability. He's got some ability from what I was able to see. And again, limited quantity. So not a lot for me to explain. But from what I did see, he's got some ability. Just needs to be coached up and need to be put in the right situations for him to succeed. In the 6th round, 184th overall selection, cornerback out of Maine, Kendall James for me. He's a solid double. I think that the skill set that he brings to the table will benefit you in some capacity, whether it's special teams only, whether he's a guy that helps you on special teams and can be a 4th corner on the roster, 5th corner. We'll see. I think he's got an opportunity to make this roster. He's going to have to come in and prove himself. And by gosh, he's got to get stronger. I can't deal with 9 reps of 2 1/4. I can do 9 reps of 2 1/4. Okay? Need you to be stronger than that, my man. Need you to be stronger than that. So we move on to the 7th round. Vikings had 3 selections. We start with the first of those 3, 220th overall defensive tackle out of Connecticut, Shamar Stephen. And here's a guy out of Connecticut, big guy, 6'5". So he's a guy that takes up space, actually moves pretty well for his size. That's the thing that jumped off the screen at me watching the tape was this guy can move. And that's the first thing that I thought of when I saw him. I was like, okay, I saw the height, but I really didn't pay attention to that. But then when I saw him moving down the line and getting involved with the play, a play that went away from him and getting into the tackle, I said, man, that's impressive, big man. What else you got? He said, okay, I got more. I can show you some more. And then I saw him discard a center, get in the backfield, and make a tackle for a loss. I said, okay, that's impressive. What else you got for me, big man? I said, okay, that's not enough. I got more. So they run a screen. He reads screen. So that's the first thing. I need play recognition out of my defensive lineman, especially if you're a big boy. You can't afford wasted space. When you're 6'5", 305 pounds, 295 pounds, you can't waste space, man. You cannot waste steps, motions, movement. You can't afford it. You got to be going in the right direction or else. And so he read screen. He saw it. He sniffed it out, got out there, was able to sort through the garbage, tackle for loss. Love it. Love it. I said, all right, big man, I'm really liking what I see. What else you got? He said, I got one more thing for you. Now, I don't do this often. I don't do it often. But I got an inside swim move. I can get to the quarterback. I said, okay, that's nice. I'd like to see that more. He said, I know, but I got to work on it. That's all I got. I said, look, I like your skill set. I like the fact that you hustle. I like the fact that you're big. One guy wasn't moving this guy out the way. And I like that. If you're going to be a big space-eating guy with some athleticism, then I need 2 blockers to have to move you out of the way. And the only way that this guy was getting washed out of plays was with 2 blockers. If it was just one, he was standing up at the point of attack. And if you're not getting to the quarterback, because Shamar Stephen does not get to the quarterback, if you're not getting to the quarterback, then you better be stout at the point of attack, my friend. And that is, in fact, what he is. He is stout at the point of attack. I like that. I like the fact that he has movement skills. He can go laterally side to side. He can move down the line, make a play. He hustles. If the play goes away from him, he's coming on backside pursuit. He does not give up. And he's a smart football player. Snuff out a screen, was able to sort through the garbage, get over there. I like this guy. I like what he brings to the table. He's going to provide you with more depth. Yeah, you went out and got Linval Joseph, who is a baller. However, he's going to help you get more and more defensive line depth. And he's going to be a guy that I think you're going to be able to work into this rotation and feel really good about. Now you've got 2 guys that you feel like are bona fide starters in Sharif Floyd and Linval Joseph. Now you got to surround them with guys that can come off the bench and give you quality snaps. And Shamar Stephen is a guy that I think not only will make this roster, but you'll be pleased with what he'll bring to the table in limited quantity. In the 7th round, 220th overall selection, defensive tackle out of Connecticut, Shamar Stephen is a double. Solid pickup in the 7th round. I think he's the guy that will make this roster and will help you down the road. You move on to your second 7th round selection, 223rd overall, linebacker out of Georgia Tech, Brandon Watts. Please give it up for Mr. Brandon Watts. Linebacker out of Georgia Tech. And the first thing you put on the tape, immediately, speed. First thing I noticed. Now, I watched him and I said, all right, so what you got for me? So you're a 7th round pick, so you got to do something really well, okay? Something has to stand out about you. Something got you selected in this 7th round. And I looked at his body type. I said, well, you're not a big guy, so what else you got? You're not really physical. He said, I got one thing and one thing only. I'm a one-trick pony, man. But that one trick that I have, it's a damn good one. And it's speed. 6 feet, about 225, 230 pounds. So you know what that means. You better run really fast, my man, because you're light in the pants. All right. 4'4", 140. Ouch. That man is blazing fast. Okay. And I saw that. I put on the Pitt tape. And Pitt has a receiver by the name of Boyd. He's a freshman, or he was a freshman. He's going into his sophomore year now. And this guy can run. And, you know, they find ways to get him the football, whether it's reverses or hitches, bubble screens, slants. They try to get it into his hands quickly because he's so fast. And I saw your 7th rounder, Brandon Watts. And this is what Georgia Tech liked to do with him, and for good reason. He's not started the point of attack. He gets mopped up in the run game. And so what they either did with him was one of two things. They either blitzed him or they had him in coverage. You were hard-pressed to find him just sitting there waiting to help in the run game because that's not what he does. That's not his skill set. That's not his strength. His strength is running. And so they would put him in zone coverage. They would put him in man coverage, and they would blitz him. As a blitzer, he's adequate, but he's got one move. He's a one-trick pony. It's speed off the edge. If I beat you, then I win. If I don't, you get your hands on me, I'm out of the play. So I would love to see him develop 2 moves off of the speed. Just 2. I'm not asking for, you're not a defensive end. You're not a rush outside linebacker. I'm not asking you to develop an array of moves. I just want 2 more moves. Yeah, the speed isn't going anywhere. That's going to be a constant. That's a given. All right. But I would love to see you use 2 things. A spin, because teams are going to teach their linemen when a guy like you is blitzing to overplay the speed to the outside. So if you can get them leaning one way and spin back to the inside, they're beat every single time. If you can execute the spin correctly. Some guys spin in place. If you can spin up the field, you got them. And the other thing I would like to see you develop is hard outside, back inside. I saw one time when this guy went in for a blitz, and if he would have went hard outside, back inside, he would have walked to the quarterback because the center who was blocking him, he blitzed up the A-gap, who was blocking him, overextended to the inside or to the left on the play because that's where he was blitzing to, and left the right side wide open. And if he were to take one step, all he had to do was take one step and go back inside to the right, he could have walked to the quarterback. But he just kept going that same direction, and the center gobbled him up. So as a blitzer, as a rusher, he's got to develop that, but he's got speed. He got drafted because he can play tight ends. He can run with any tight end in this league. How many tight ends are running a sub-4 540? That's first. Not many of them. He's not a huge guy. He's a 6-footer, 6'1". So height isn't his strength. But again, when you're running that fast, you can make up for any other deficiency that you may have in the passing game. So I think there's some value here if he is able to stay with receivers, with tight ends, with backs out of the backfield, I think he can carve out a niche on this roster. We'll see. Vikings are going to have to figure out what they want to do with this guy, how he is best used, and if they, in fact, are still running somewhat of a cover 2 defensive scheme. You know, Zimmer is a lot more aggressive and demands a lot more of his linebackers than just dropping into zone coverage. You know, Leslie Frazier was a guy that comes from that Tampa 2 tree, so he was more inclined to have his linebackers dropping into zone coverage, which would have fit Brandon Watts perfectly, but we'll see. Being that Zimmer likes to blitz, and really Zimmer would love to come after you with a front four that can get pressure and allow everybody else to do something else. But if Zimmer can bring pressure and have this guy covering the other team's back out of the backfield or tight end man-to-man, he might have a place on this roster. In the 7th round, 223rd overall selection, Brandon Watts, for me, he's a double because he brings something to the table that's elite. That's speed. He can run. He can cover. And he's a sure tackler. I like that about him. He may not break up the pass, but he's always in position to make a tackle. And so if it's 3rd and 7 and you run an out route at 5 yards worth of depth and you're expecting to break a tackle and get those extra 2 yards and pick up the first down, not with Brandon Watts around. He's getting you down on the ground. And you may fall 1 yard short of the first down, but you're short nonetheless. You got to punt. So I like that about him as well. He's a double because he brings elite speed to the table. That's going to be his ticket if he's going to make it in this league, is speed. If he can consistently flash that speed and use coverage skills and ability to cover tight ends and backs all the same out of the backfield, he'll carve out a niche in this league. And your last and final selection in this draft, 7th round, 225th overall selection, cornerback out of North Carolina, Jabari Price. This is a guy I'm not really enamored with, okay? Not going to lie to you. Watch the tape of this guy, and I really didn't see a lot that I liked from Jabari Price. Here's a guy, 5'10", a smaller corner. Again, one of these 190-pounders, 185 type guys. Not a lot of strength, not a lot of core strength here. In the run game, he's got a temperament that he wants to help. He wants to help you. Trust me, believe me, he does. He wants to help. But he's really not a guy that's going to help you in the run game, contrary to popular belief. You know, I read a couple of reports that says this guy is a tackler. Nope, I didn't see it. Not with these eyes, I didn't, at least. Now, somebody else may have saw it, but I didn't. There was one game, South Carolina, where he absolutely whiffs on a tackle that leads to a 70-yard touchdown run. He was the last line of defense out there on the edge. He comes racing into the play, falls down, gives a feeble attempt. And you know what I call him? He's a leg lunger. He's a leg lunger. What he does is he goes after your legs. Because he's not a big guy, he's not overly physical, he wants to go shooting the cuffs. He's a leg lunger, okay? And when you're a legs lunger, what happens is if you miss, because you don't see what you're hitting. When you're a legs lunger, you go diving in and you don't see anything. You just see the legs and you go shooting for the cuffs. And guess what? You don't see what you're hitting. So if a guy bounces off or he decides to jump, you're out of luck. And so I don't really put a lot of stock into him helping you in run support, helping you as a tackler. I saw him get stiff-armed at least twice. I saw him whiff on that 70-yard touchdown run. I saw him miss on a receiver that caught a pass in front of him. I did see him make a couple of tackles. I'm not saying the guy can't tackle at all. I'm just saying don't hold your breath. Do not hold your breath. You're suffocating. You're turning blue. Don't do it. So that part of his game to me is very limited. However, he can cover. I see him playing off the ball a lot. And he's a 4'5", 40 guy. He's not a blazer. So I see him not trusting his ability to come up and press. And he's not strong. I guess I get the element of not pressing. I also see him being a guy that, for one reason or another, and some of it not his fault, you know, playing off a lot. Some of it was zone coverage. That's not his fault. That's no fault of his. If that's the call, that's the call. But there were some plays where he was in man coverage and he was 7, 8 yards, 9 yards off the ball. And I get that you got to respect speed when you don't have it. I get it. I understand. Everybody's not made to be press and run corners. However, I still want to see you come up sometimes. I want to see you challenge the receiver. And the thing about being a corner is you got to switch it up. Unless you're really good. If you're really good, then you don't have to switch it up. You can do the same thing every time because it works. But when you're an average corner, the thing you have to do to maintain, to stay ahead of the game, is switch it up. Press, bump and run, press and bail, off, zone. You got to switch it up. But this guy was always off the ball. Zone, man, it didn't matter. He was off the ball. So you know how I am about that. Okay, so you can't tackle. You're not overly fast. You're not overly aggressive. And you're playing off the ball. In the 7th round, 225th overall selection, cornerback out of North Carolina, Jabari Price is a single. And he's by himself. The only single in this draft. So you know what that means. He is living single. Yeah, he's the only single on this entire board. 10 picks. A really good draft by the Minnesota Vikings. Let's see what they were able to accomplish. First round, 2 of those. 2 triples. Anthony Barr, to me, home run potential. I just need to see it more consistently. Same with Teddy Bridgewater. Home run ability. Just need to see him be more consistently when he's throwing the football. For Anthony Barr, I need to see him more consistent in the run game, more consistently getting after the quarterback. I need to see him expand his game, technique, and learning different moves. Again, he's only been an outside linebacker for 2 years. That's going to come. I just need to see it. That's all. So 2 triples in the first round. Scott Crichton is a really aggressive and physical defensive end. You'll like him in the run game. He's a physical guy. He's a triple. Derrick McKinnon. I'm drooling. I'm salivating. I love this guy. Multifaceted, all-purpose guy offensively. I don't care how you do it. Find a way for this man to get on the field and get him the football. He's a triple. David Yankee. Mike Mayock said it best. Phone booth brawler. Enough said. He's a triple. Antone Exum. Is he a safety? Is he a corner? I don't know. That's for you to figure out, okay? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Stop asking. I don't know. But you'll figure it out. Wherever he goes, he's going to be physical. He's going to make some plays. I like this guy. I like him better as a safety. If he's 2013 Antone Exum, I like him better as a corner if he's 2012 Antone Exum. He's a double because I got questions, need answers, don't have them, got to get them. He's a double. Kendall James, limited footage on this guy out of Maine. He's a smaller guy, but it possesses speed, has a crazy vertical, blocked a field goal, so he's going to give you some special teams value. And I think he's got some skills enough that he can help you as a corner in this league. He's a double. Shamar Stephen out of UConn, big, athletic, defensive tackle, rotational depth guy, can move down the line, stout at the point of attack. I like him. He's a double. Brandon Watts. Give it up for Mr. Brandon Watts. He's a double. Pure speed, unadulterated, unequivocal speed. If he can harness that and you can figure out the best way to use him, he's a double. Jabari Price, I don't like what I see. Limited tackling ability. Not a fast guy. Scared to come up. Not aggressive as a corner. He is a single. So, triple, 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 triple. So, 4 of those in a row. That is 12. Or, excuse me, 5 triples in a row to start this draft. That's 15. Double, 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 double. That's 8 more. So, that's 23. Plus a single to round out the draft is 24. So, let's go over these bonuses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triples. So, that's 1 triple bonus. That takes us to 27. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles. That takes us to 29 with a doubles bonus. You have 10 picks. You just missed a triple. 2.9 double. I mean, you can't get any closer than that. But numbers don't lie. It's a double. 2.9 for the Minnesota Vikings in the 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. It's a really good haul. I really like what you did, especially in the first 6 picks. I mean, Antone Exum and up. I think you got really good football players, a lot of value, a lot of guys. And really, of these 10 players, I see 8 to 9 of these guys making your roster. That's how good this draft is top to bottom. And so I think this is a really good haul of guys that are going to come in and compete and help you right away in some form or capacity like this draft. And so if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. It's a double for the Minnesota Vikings in the 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. Only one question remains. Who's next?
Draft Zone.
Like the content? Want more? Sub up.